tēnā, ki tēnā o tātou. E honore he koro ria he maunga rongo ki runga ki te matoa te whenua, e te kāra pai ki ngā tangata katoa. Arohaina ngā teina, e ngā tuakana, e noho nei, e nui te whakaaro kutahi, pai mai.
Please be seated. E ngā mana, e ngā reo, e ngā iwi o ngā haue whā, tēnei aku mihi mahana ki o koutou. Nau mai, hara mai, ki te whare kāwana o te kāwana tianara ki Whanganui Tara. Kia ora mai tātou katoa. Distinguished guests, it is my pleasure to welcome you to Government House for today's investiture ceremony. I'd like to specifically acknowledge Mr. Joe Harawira, our kaumātua, and Ms. Puhi Wahine Tipple, our kuia. Hosting investiture ceremonies is one of the most important duties that I perform on behalf of His Majesty the King of New Zealand. Don't worry, let them run around. They can go crazy in the house, it's fine. I'm delighted to bring together such an extraordinary group of New Zealanders. You have each brought pride and a greater sense of well-being to Aotearoa New Zealand. I extend my sincerest thanks to you for your contributions. After each recipient is honoured, I invite you to join with me in congratulating them. Ms. Catriona McLeod will now summon the recipients and read their citations.
Your Excellency, to receive the insignia of a Companion of the New Zealand Order of Merit, Dr. Ruth Spearing of Christchurch, for services to haematology. Dr. Ruth Spearing was consultant haematologist at Christchurch Hospital from 1989 to 2020 and clinical director of the Department of Haematology with the Canterbury District Health Board for 6 years. She was the New Zealand Principal Investigator for international collaborative trials into a wide range of blood cancers in partnership with the United Kingdom Medical Research Council and the Australasian Leukemia and Lymphoma Group. The research resulted in a significant increase in survival rates and helped to establish pioneering treatments internationally. She's worked extensively with adolescents and young adults with cancer and was Canterbury Clinical Lead for the Adolescent and Young Adult Cancer Service. Dr. Spearing was a member of the National Adolescent and Young Adult Cancer Governance Group and chair of the Canterbury Hospital's Medical Staff Association. Dr. Ruth Spearing, please come forward. Your Excellency, to receive the insignia of an Officer of the New Zealand Order of Merit, Mr. Rod Baxter of Wellington, for services to youth. Rod Baxter collaboratively developed the Code of Ethics of Young Work in New Zealand. As Director of Impact of the Prince's Trust Aotearoa, he developed entrepreneurship education programs to support youth in their engagement with the economy. With the Ministry of Youth Development, he co-wrote Te Kete Aronui, Understanding What Looks Good in Youth Enterprise, an evidence-based outcomes framework. He's been CEO of the Prince's Trust since 2021, leading the trust to match funding of $2 million seed funding with the Ministry of Youth Development on He Kakano, a mentoring and enterprise skill development pilot. He's developed projects and programs for youth across New Zealand. He was the project coordinator for several Wellington City art projects. Mr. Baxter has been chair of several boards and regularly facilitates youth development training. Mr. Rod Baxter, please come forward. Mr. Steve Wynne Harris of Waipukurau for services to the farming industry and rural communities. Steve Wynne Harris owns a dry stock farm in Central Hawke's Bay district, widely perceived as a role model of New Zealand's beef and lamb industry through the farm's successful harnessing of technology transfer. He served as a director of Pamu Farms of New Zealand, formerly Landcorp, and Farmlands Cooperative. He's been significant in raising greater awareness of the issues affecting farmers and rural communities, sharing his experiences in print and radio. He's written the column From the Ridge for New Zealand Farmers Weekly since 1996, reaching a readership of 130,000 each week. Mr. Wynne Harris has hosted his radio programme, The Cockie's Hour, on Central FM for 25 years, and is regularly interviewed on Radio New Zealand and News Talk ZB, advocating on behalf of the rural sector. Mr. Steve Wynne Harris, please come forward. Your Excellency, to receive the insignia of a member of the New Zealand Order of Merit, Mrs. Yvonne Browning of Invercargill for services to education and youth. Yvonne Browning has been principal of Southland Girls High School for 20 years. Her innovative curriculum serve as a model for the implementation of the national curriculum in New Zealand. She's fostered relationships between the school and local iwi. She established an education partnership between Southland Girls High School and TY Aluminium Smelter to encourage female students to consider engineering careers. She's a founding member of the Invercargill Student Support Network, supporting vulnerable youth. She was a trustee of the Poppycock Trust, a parent-focused initiative that raises awareness of issues affecting school children. Mrs. Browning is a founding member of the Education Southland International Student Coalition. Mrs. Yvonne Browning, please come forward. Mr. Ian James of Upper Hutt for services to the community. Ian James was the chairman of Citizens Advice Bureau, or CAB, in Upper Hutt. He's helped prisoners at Rimutaka Prison's dependency treatment and reintegration units with information and advice of services through CAB. He's compiled resources to be used by all CAB throughout New Zealand to assist with calls and interactions with those in prison. He's president of the Citizens Advice Bureau national body, where he's driven the development and rollout of the Code of Conduct for board members. Mr. James boards guide dogs for low vision and blind people when they need a break or in hospital care. Mr. Ian James, please come forward. Mrs. Jackie Williams of Levin for services to scouting. Jackie Williams opened the first Kia Club in Whangarei in 1980, a scouting section for children aged 5 to 7. She became Kia leader for the Wellington area and then National Kia Commissioner. She was District Commissioner for the Kapiti District, holding responsibility for the operation of all scouting groups in the region. She served 2 terms on the National Executive Committee of Scouts New Zealand. She was zone leader for the Kapiti Coastal Zone and has been involved in the administration of 4 New Zealand Scouting Jamborees. Mrs. Williams served as secretary for the Scout Youth Foundation, fundraising to enable disadvantaged youth to participate in the Scouting movement. Mrs. Jackie Williams, please come forward. Your Excellency, to receive the insignia of an honorary member of the New Zealand Order of Merit, Mr. Fa'amoana Luafutu of Christchurch, for services to arts and the Pacific community. Fa'amoana Luafutu wrote his first book, A Boy Called Broke, while an inmate at Rolleston Prison. The book began a collaboration with the Conch Theatre Group, inspiring the award-winning play The White Guitar. He co-wrote the subsequent play, A Boy Called Piano, telling the story of his time in state care in the 1960s. The play was adapted into a feature documentary, which won Best Feature Documentary at the Montreal Independent Film Festival and Maoriland Film Festival, and featured at 12 international film festivals. He's played a key role in the Royal Commission of Inquiry into Abuse in Care. Mr. Luafutu contributed writing to the award-winning series The Panthers. Mr. Fa'amoana Luafutu, please come forward. Your Excellency, to receive the Queen's Service Medal, Mrs. Peggy Frew of Ohakune for services to the community. Peggy Frew was Chair and Secretary of Ohakune Plunkett Society and President of the Ohakune Primary School Parent-Teacher Association. She chaired the Recruitment Committee for Whanganui Education Board and was an educational tutor. She's been Regional Coordinator and served on the executive of the Whanganui Cancer Society. She's been President and Secretary of the Ohakune Garden Club. She's involved in the joint venture Ohakune Carrot Park Trust to develop the Ohakune Carrot Land into an adventure park. Mrs. Frew was a Waimarino District Councillor and a member of Ruapehu College Board of Governors. Mrs. Peggy Frew, please come forward. Mr. Kevin McComb of Whakatane for services to cycling. Kevin McComb competed in New Zealand's track cycling team at the 1978 Commonwealth Games in Edmonton. In the 1980s, he took over ownership of a cycling store in Whakatane. He set up the Whakatane Cycling Club and served as its president for 32 years, promoting cycling in his community and helping launch many sporting careers. Throughout his fundraising efforts, he secured sponsorship for elite athletes, bikes and equipment for newcomers, and a simulator for a severely injured club member. For decades, Mr. McComb promoted the achievements of cyclists in a weekly column in the Whakatane Beacon. Mr. Kevin McComb, please come forward. Mr. Anthony Pettinger of Dunedin for services to outdoor recreation. Anthony Pettinger has been involved with the Otago Tramping and Mountaineering Club, OTMC, for more than 30 years, including as secretary, chief guide and club president. He's organised and led 139 trips. He's course director for the club's bushcraft courses. He was a member of the OTMC's Land Search and Rescue call-out list. He's organised the club's centenary celebrations, researching and documenting the club's history and planning 100 trips to be completed throughout the year. Mr. Pettinger is currently leading the creation of a new tramping track at Pineapple Point in Dunedin. Mr. Anthony Pettinger, please come forward. Mrs. Robin Van Reenen of Wanaka for services to the arts. Robin Van Reenen has coordinated and managed the Wanaka Autumn Arts School since 1992. She was secretary of the Wanaka Art Society and a founding member of the Wanaka Patchwork Club. She chaired the Upper Clutha Community Arts Council. She's a member of Coots, Central Otago outside the square, a group of textile artists promoting textiles in the art world. She has taught quilting and bookbinding courses. She served on the National Association of New Zealand Quilters Committee and the National Quilt Symposium Committee. Mrs. Van Reenen was a committee member of the Queenstown Lakes Creative Communities Grants. Mrs. Robin Van Reenen, please come forward. Your Excellency, the investiture has concluded.
New Zealand's honours system is our highest public affirmation of outstanding individual achievement. It reinforces those things that make our society better: service, manaakitanga, and the pursuit of excellence. To our recipients, it has been a privilege to hear your stories. You have each used your talents and abilities to improve the lives of fellow New Zealanders. In doing so, you embody the sentiments expressed by the great Nigerian playwright Wole Soyinka when he said, "Human life has meaning only as long as it is lived in the service of humanity." I urge recipients to wear your insignia with pride at every opportunity, knowing that you inspire others by your example. On behalf of the King of New Zealand and all New Zealanders, I congratulate you on your achievements, and I thank you again for your service to our communities. And don't worry about the loudness of the little ones, it's all part of the background noise. Kia ora, e huhu mai tātou I tēnei rā. Now you will see on the back of your program the words to the national anthem in Te Reo Māori and also in English. Please stand with me and join in singing the national anthem.